What is up, Retro Maniacs? My name is Mike. His name is Joe. His name's EP. We're here to talk about cards. Joe, you begged me to take over the show this week. I finally gave in. I'm going to let you do it. So what do you have for us?
All right. I'm excited. So those of us who are on Card Twitter, we follow an account, CardPurchaser. Yeah, I'm sorry. Jesus. We follow an account, CardPurchaser, and sometimes they'll throw out these random, what's your favorite card or what's your mail day looking like. They actually threw something out that I thought was pretty interesting that we could talk about. What are some questions that new collectors have about the hobby? Now, we have, I think, in my opinion, the smartest viewers and subscribers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like the folks that watch us, they don't need these answered. It'll be fun for them to listen, so definitely watch, but they don't need these answered. But if someone is kind of stumbling through the woods trying to find the answers to these tough questions, they just got back in the hobby, the algorithm hits this video just right, they'll get to see what we think some of these answers should be, and maybe they'll become one of those smart subscribers like we have. That's what I'm thinking. So I picked out the 10 to 12 best. I'm going to combine a couple, and I wanted to get your opinions, and myself included, and our smart viewers too. If you want to answer some of these questions as well, throw that in the comments. But I'm going to go through some of these questions, and let's get right into it. We'll start with question number 1. Should new collectors be spending money on boxes like Megas, Blasters, Hobby, or target specific cards of interest? New collectors into the hobby, what do you think they should be spending their money on, Mike?
Well, I'm not going to tell them how they have to do it, but I will let them know probably the most cost-effective way to do it is to collect individual cards of what you want. You want to dabble a little bit with ripping packs here and there, go ahead. It'll be fun, but just don't think that you're going to be able to get a lot of value out of what you get. If you have money you want to spend on ripping stuff because it's fun, go ahead and do it. But if you might have limited funds or you don't want to spend too much, buy what you like in individual cards.
EP?
Yeah, I'm on the same, very much the same train. Like I got into this hobby. I loved this hobby because of opening packs and because of the joy of opening packs and having all these cards. And obviously you can see from the cards I still have most of those cards. That is how I love the hobby. That's my hobby. But there's just, you're not going to get, if you're it's so expensive now that you're not going to be able to make your money, your value back off that box. It's not going to be worth the money you spend. That said, if you want some fun, you have the expenses, the finances to be able to do it. Like definitely open some packs here and there. Definitely open up blaster, at least a blaster box here and there. Hobby boxes of a lot of stuff, especially football and basketball, are so expensive that you really it's really a struggle to do that for a lot of people. But there are a lot of cards you can find at your local card shop on eBay for $1.99, $1.79 that are just really cool cards from we specialize in like retro stuff from the 90s and everything. There's so much great stuff out there at that price level. You can put together an amazing collection just doing that. And I really think if I was talking to a new collector, that's what I'd say to them. Just hunt for those things, especially like the Randy Mosses, the Barry Sanders, like these like icons from that time period. And that'd be my recommendation 100%.
Yeah, I'm not going to add much to this other than to say, like, go back and buy some cheap boxes from 2002, 2003. If you really jones into open something up, non-sports especially, you feel so much better opening up non-sports after it's all ripped and done. You feel like you're not losing your shirt from cards back and from those eras. So that would be my recommendation. But definitely, I target specific cards. But if I'm going to rip something, I'm ripping something from the 90s and early 2000s. All right, question number 2. We'll start with EP. Where can I find checklist for all of the single cards different variants? I have about 15 different versions of this, but I want to see how many more there are. So what websites do you use for things like this, EP?
Yeah. I love this question. Like a lot of people are probably thinking, I'll just go to eBay and then look it up. But I feel like eBay, when it comes to like something like this, eBay falls short because there are listings. There are people who list cards that have the wrong name. So you're going to get cards that aren't even part of that set or whatever. Excuse me. So, but I feel like trading card database, ComC is probably number one for me. I start with ComC because ComC, you just type in whatever it is and the card number and the player, the card number, and then like the general set, like Ultra or Upper Deck or whatever. It's going to give you an entire list of all the different cards that fit those criteria, including most of the parallels and most of the variations, that sort of stuff, all on one screen. You can be able to see them all. It also shows you the numbered cards, that sort of stuff. And the second one is trading card database, which that'll help you as far as like putting it together with a set and inserts, that sort of stuff. But I think those are the two main ones for me anyway.
Yep. Trading card database for the whole checklist, and ComC is nice too because you can see the pictures of the different parallels. So same for me.
Yeah, same for me. I'm a big trading card database guy. I've been opening up boxes of like Marvel cards just to see what the inserts, and they do have galleries as well, so you can see some of the pictures, and it breaks it down like if this is a Walmart exclusive or hobby exclusive or something like that. It breaks down by that by those. So definitely good options there.
It's a terrific database, really.
It is. It really is
expansive. It's really great.
All right. Question number 3 from Mike. We'll start you off. There seems to be tons of new releases and variations with cards selling at crazy prices. Do you think we could be in another junk wax cycle? I think we know the answer here, but Mike, take it away.
Kind of. I mean, we are in another overproduced cycle. The main difference is now, though, you can pull stuff out of packs of cards that you couldn't pull out during the junk wax era. So, like, I don't know that I want to call it junk wax because it is heavily overproduced, but it still has rare stuff of value that they didn't have at junk wax. But yes, we are in an overproduced era for sure.
EP?
Yeah, I feel like junk wax has its own like connotation, right? Like we love that. Like that's our era.
Call it junk wax.
Right. Like you open up a pack of 1990 tops, you know you're not going to get anything good out of it. Like nothing that's going to make a lot of money out of it. You get a lot of good stuff out of it, a lot of fun stuff out of it. But it's not going to make you're not going to hit a RPA or anything like that, crazy like that. Where you could buy a random $25 blaster box at one of the big box stores and pull a $300 card out of it. Like, and that's crazy to think about. Yes, we're overproduced, like Mike said, but let's keep junk wax. Let's save junk wax just for our stuff from back in the 90s.
That's ours.
That's ours. I mean, it's selfish of us to say that, but that's our baby. That's our baby. Let us keep that.
And the big difference between now, Mike made mention of one of the big differences is you can pull something major, but another big difference is the boxes cost way more. So like, yeah, it's overproduced, but you're spending a lot to open up that overproduced stuff while you can pull something big, but it's just not worth it. All right. Who's first here? I think it's EP.
It's me. Yep.
All right. What grading companies are considered acceptable for resale? And then they kind of a sub question, is it just the big four? And what are some reasonably priced, good looking companies for personal collection? Also, is it worthwhile to get a 1-of-1 or autographs graded? So let's start with the first thing, EP. What grading companies are considered acceptable for resale? Is it just the big four in your opinion? One word answer.
I feel like they're all acceptable, but if you're trying to maximize your profit, PSA is the way to go. And then there are other ones underneath there. But if all you're worried about is resale, the 100%, then you need to just only grade with PSA. But there are other grading companies out there that do it. I'm guessing they have deals and stuff like that. And I think people, if you give them a 10 and a fake slab, they're going to pay a little bit more than they would have if it's not in a fake slab. So I don't think most people trust those fake slabs. When I say fake slabs, I mean from companies that aren't the big four. But I feel like there are some people out there who would buy those anyway, just because they feel, oh, well, this is a 10, this one, I can get a 10 in one of the big four companies. But if I'm doing it myself, I'm only doing I'm probably SGC or PSA. I mean, that's for me anyway. Those are the ones that I would do.
Mike, you say I don't know the definition of subtle. EP does not know the definition of one. Mike, get one word answer. What grading companies are considered acceptable for resale? Just the big four?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well done, Mike. So I'm going to skip the personal collection one because I have another question that kind of touches on that. Do you think it's worthwhile to grade 1-of-1 or autograph cards? I'm going to answer this part and say yes for autographs, no for 1-of-1. EP?
Yes for both.
Yes for both. Mike?
Yeah, for both.
Yeah. The only reason, since I'm different, I'll say the only reason I say no for 1-of-1s is a 1-of-1, I guess, is going to have value no matter what it's graded. So I understand that. But at that point, I don't know if it's worthwhile to send it in, take the time, wait for it to come back. Just put it up on eBay
That's
if you
fair.
want to sell it. All right, Mike, I've got one that's always eluded me. One question that this person is asking. There's a out of 25 parallel. There's also an out of 25 auto parallel. Are there 25 of each, or is it a small number of those 25 are autoed? This is more complicated than you would think because of the different companies doing different things and all the different variations. But Mike, explain it to this new collector.
Yeah, there's 25 of each. They're if there are 10 different 25 sets, they're 10 totally different 25 sets. Yeah, they make a lot of stuff.
They make a lot of
really
stuff.
do.
And it's numbered. Some of it's not numbered and just has a weird foil on it. It's just there is a lot. Going back to the junk wax question, there is a lot of stuff being produced. EP, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I feel like if you're looking back to the stuff from the 90s, there's potential for something like that. Where like with precious metal gems,
PMGs, yeah.
The PMGs, like the first 10 of those, I think it is, are green, and then the rest are reds, right? Yep. So then the rest like 50. This is 50 or 100, whatever the rest of them are.
Usually 100, but yeah. So there's 90 reds in that situation.
Right, but with the growth of the parallel and the explosion of the parallel, let's say, companies just want to create as many parallels as they can and as many different variations of these parallels as they can, and so they're gonna they wouldn't even think about doing something that limited to be able to only the first 5 are autographed. No, we got 25 of these and 25 of these and 25 of these and 25 of these and 25 of these.
And can I add one thing too? The more parallels you see, the more produced that set is, because companies add extra parallels to try to hide the fact that they're printing way more of it. So if you're looking at one set that might have 5 parallels and another one that has 25, pretty much a guarantee the one with 25 is printed way more than the one with 5.
Is Select the worst? Select's got to be the worst, right? They have all the parallels.
Prism's the worst.
Prism's getting there too.
Prism's the worst, but
Select has almost as many, if not more, parallels, but they also have the different levels of each of those parallels too. Keep that in mind.
Right.
All right. This is a great one for you too, especially because you list a lot of stuff on eBay. What is the best day time to post singles on eBay? I guess what's the best time to have them end is what they're really getting at. You see the most eyeballs. Who's this one go
EP.
to? EP?
Yeah, I was gonna say, to clarify, the more important thing is, like, especially if you're doing auctions, like when they end is the bigger deal, and you want to have it end on the auction, right? We want the most eyeballs on the weekend. So even listing wise, it's going to show up with that new tag, like newly listed or whatever. So if you're posting on, if you're only going to post a few cards on the weekends is best, because then it's going to get eyeballs on it, and then probably set it for a 7-day auction or a 7-day sale or whatever, if you want to do it that way. That way, when it ends, it also ends on the weekend. So that way, that's going to get, people are usually off on the weekend, so they're going to have more time to look around. They're going to spend some time. That's my take there.
And I'll add, typically like between 8 and 11 is usually what's considered the sweet spot, because you have, people
PM,
from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Like you want to do it at night. Typically, like I actually think 9 to 11 is a little better. You want to have a time where people from the East Coast to the West are all going to have an opportunity to be available to bid. So you want to open up the potential bidders you could have.
Yeah, I do the same thing, though. I don't do auctions. I don't think any of us really encourage people to do auctions. Maybe if you have something special, like EP got that Drew Jones card, maybe it makes more sense to do an auction. But I know we're mostly buy it now or best offer listers. So, all right. When using a one touch, is it better to put a penny sleeve in front or back of the card, or fully sleeve the card in a penny sleeve in the one touch? What are the pros and cons? I'm going to start off with this one because
this is all you, Joe.
This is me. This is me.
Yeah.
And this goes to the question about, if it's something for your personal collection, should you grade it? I'll tell you what, if it's something for your personal collection and you want to look nice, use a one touch. I like the Pro Mold ones because they come with the sleeves. You can put in a sleeve, you can put in the one touch, and I think they look crystal clear. I think they look better than slabs in a lot of cases. So if it's not something that you're really, really worried about, like you need to constantly know what the value of it is, and it's just for your PC and you're displaying it, definitely get a one touch with a sleeve. Regardless, you should use a sleeve in some way. Either put it in front of the card, especially a chrome card, or an autograph card. Put a sleeve down so that way the card is not getting scratched up. But that's how I do it. I don't know if you guys want to add anything else to that, but
I defer to the expert on the panel here.
the one
He
touch
is the
expert.
one touch.
Yeah.
One touch expert.
The only one thing I would add is, like Joe said, like if you put a card in a one touch, it is super sharp. It is. They look fantastic in that. And if you're not worried about the authentication of, like, let's say a vintage card or something like that, you're not worried about have it be a certain number grade, and it's just for you. A one touch is a perfect way, especially if you're going to display it, like a perfect way to display it, an awesome card.
I completely agree. And I will be doing a little product review here on the channel in a couple of weeks. So, is there a good website with a step-by-step on getting cards graded? Best way to go about it, things to look for on the card, etc. So I'm just going to consolidate this question with another one. What are you looking for when you're going to grade a card, and how do you decide where to send it once you find those things you're looking for?
I think it's supposed to be me, but yeah. Mike didn't answer the last one. He just agreed. So what? Oh, okay, all right. Well, I mean, there's no real. I haven't really found a website that kind of goes through those details. But I mean, I feel like we should probably put together a video that's similar to this. Like that'd be something fun for us to do, I think. But for me, the first thing I look at is centering. I just make sure the card is centered, and I realize that PSA is a little more lenient on centering than SGC in some other places. But like centering to me is important for the presentation and look of a card. And if I'm getting a card graded, typically it's a card that either I'm going to try to sell, or that if I end up keeping it forever, I don't feel terrible about it. So a lot of times, that's why I've only graded so many cards. But I feel like if a card's centered, that's a very important thing, in my opinion, over a lot of other stuff. Then I'll look at the corners and the surface last typically for me, but I'll look at it multiple times on the surface just because, and multiple kinds of light, because I think that's important. So that's kind of like a very basic thing of what to look for. But I start with the centering and look at the corners and the edges, and then the surface.
Yeah, those are the four. You want to the centering, the edges, the corner, and the surface. Make sure you look at all of them. I mean, corners are a big deal. So get yourself like a 10x magnifying glass and really look, because you see things that you wouldn't normally see. And on edges too. Like I recommend turning the card so it's the thin way if you're looking at a corner too, because if you're looking at the edge of the corner, you can sometimes see it pressed forward or back a little bit that you don't catch when you're looking at on the edge, like from the front view.
I've missed that personally on some cards. Yeah.
And centering is a big thing. And newer cards, especially like the chrome cards, you need to check the surface. Like you can do that pretty much with the naked eye, but you need to hold it like in light, like at a weird angle, and like move it around and just look for any imperfections, dimples, scratches, print lines, anything you might see on it.
Yeah, a touch of white is going to make a big. It might cut you down a grade in some cards. You know, that's really something to watch for.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that do reveals. We've talked about Alico 3 as someone the three of us really like. Go subscribe to their channel if you're not sure on what to look for grading, because as they do the reveals, he will talk about, this is why I got this is why I got that. Chris Sewell, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, also does that when he does his reveals. So definitely go check them out. All right, two more real quick ones. How do you know what's worth grading and what isn't? I'm going to start with this one. Again, Chris Sewell does a great job on his reveal videos showing how you can sell a card for its raw value, add whatever potential fee is on that card, and then I always go low end because I'm a glass half empty kind of guy. I assume it's going to get an 8, right? So then you go and see what the value of an 8 in that card would be, and then kind of go from there. If maybe it goes to a 9, maybe you can see what the value difference is, but always see what you could potentially sell it for raw before you decide if it's worth grading or not. What else can the folks go and do?
A lot of it too will depend on the year of the card. The older back you go, like obviously vintage stuff, like it's a completely different thing. But with newer cards, especially, like my basic formula I use is if I feel like a card could be a 10, if the value at a 9 is like high enough that I'm not going to lose money on it, I'll take the chance to get the 10. So if the 9 value is still adding value to the raw card, I will definitely do it then. But like you have to make those decisions. Like you have to be honest with yourself too. I my pile of cards I don't grade ends up being way bigger than ones I do, because I want to give myself the best chance of getting the 10 grade that we all want. So I usually balance that with, it has to be one that in a 9 I'm not going to take a bath on the card. So has to make it worthwhile to even, some cards like you're really taking a risk sending it in trying to get a 10. So
yeah, I mean, 100% agree with both you guys. I'm just gonna add a few things. Like, there, as much as I said before that, I'm only gonna send cards in that I want to keep. Like, I also like, if you have endless pockets and you want to get a card graded, go ahead and get it graded. I'm not gonna tell you not to do that. I have my one of my long term collections is the NBA. All the rookie cards of every NBA player that I've seen and started paying attention in a PSA slab, or in a slab. Let's just say in a slab, not necessarily PSA, but graded rookie card. And so I don't. And I feel like the thing is, when I say graded, I always say PSA, even though I might mean I SGC is way more cost effective, but anyhow, I feel like having a graded those graded cards, like there are some that in my collection that I want to be the card that is in my collection. I'm going to send in with an order where it meets all the criteria you guys talked about, where if it's a 9, is it still going to increase the value of it? That way I can pay for that card to be graded, even though it's my own, ends up being a 6 or whatever, then whatever, because it's my one that I pulled out of a pack of Circa, and 1996 Circa or whatever, or 1998 Circa or Thunder or whatever it was back in the day. So yeah, so that's my thinking on those cards. Like, I'm going to include those kinds of cards in my orders and get them graded as along with the other ones, as a keeper, and then try to make the money back on those other ones that I send in, that using the criteria you guys said.
Yeah, there are some situations where you can make your money back on one card. And then everything else is just profit. That's, I know some of your returns or reveals, Mike, you've had that happen. All right. Last question. This is a really good one, especially for the three of us to answer. How does one make friends through the hobby? From my experience going to shows, events, and talking to people at them, it seems so much like a business where the people you meet are clients, vendors, and or colleagues, and that's it. So this person makes a really good point, that it is hard to kind of make friends in this hobby, because at the end of the day, there's so many people who just look at it as a transactional situation. Like, people are concerned about the money part of it more than they are about, hey, I found this cool guy at this show and we can trade cards. As silly as it sounds, I think, coming into our community, we've made a lot of friends through the hobby, just doing this and interacting with people on social media and through the channel. We are always looking for new friends, so come join us. Subscribe, won't you? Subscribe, like, join a live stream. But yeah, any other points to that one? Because I think it is important that at the end of the day, this is a hobby, and it's more fun to share than it is to do it in isolation.
I do have points, but I think it's Mike's turn to go.
No, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, like, well, I think there are times I think about, like, many times I think about how lucky we are and how unfortunate it is for some people to not have a shop like Mike's, where I still see people like Steve Wilkerson on the street, and I'll say, hey, Steve, how's it going? Like, people that used to go in the shop all the time that we don't keep in touch with as much. I see Mike Jones. I talk to Mike Jones. I see all these people that, and Ray Merrill. Like, you see these people just out there, and you talk to them, and I think it's great that we're able to do that. In the same breath, if you're setting up at a show as a dealer, or if you're walking up to a dealer's table, have a conversation with them, talk to them, ask them what they collect, ask them how they got into the hobby. Through these questions, you can build these relationships, and you can find people with similar interests, and that's really important. I did the same thing. I set up 2 shows last year, and I became friends with a couple people that were actually the sellers too. And you can yes, there are a lot of, it's very much like a lot of transactions and business, that sort of stuff, but it's like talking to the people and finding out what they love and finding out why they're there, how they ended up there. That's how you end up building these relationships and making more friends in the hobby.
Yeah. Comes down to one word: interact. Be it on social media or at a card show. Don't be afraid to interact with people. Like, one thing with card people, we all love to talk about cards. So, like, strike up a conversation. If you see somebody there that like collects the same player as you, like interact with them, like say, oh yeah, that's cool, man, I have him too, do you have this, what do you have? Like that's how you do it. Like I've met a lot of dealers that are more than happy to talk and talk and talk at shows and stuff. So sometimes you need to like just break the ice. Like there's sometimes weird stuff. Don't be afraid to be a little outgoing. Like normally, even if that dealer might not be paying a lot of attention to you, like if you break the ice and just be friendly and talk to them, they'll do the same. So, and if they don't, then it's not meant to be. Just
move on. There's another dealer out there.
So
right.
you'll find people, like by interacting, you'll find people that have similar interests and you'll make hobby friends.
And there are, one last point on this is, you'll see people who are specifically Marvel collectors or specifically Drew Brees collectors. I'll use those two examples. Our buddy Dustin, the Sports Card Dad, he's in a Discord or a Facebook group with other Drew Brees collectors. Justin from Spidey Hits, he has a whole Marvel Discord and Facebook group where he talks to people and people trade and interact. So as annoying and terrible as social media can be, it can also be a good thing to interact. But again, the big takeaway here, join our fun little community, subscribe, like, do all those things that you should do. Definitely. If you're coming across this video and you're a new collector. People love us. You would love us too. So,
and if you have any questions that we want us to answer related to the hobby, please leave those down below as well.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. All right, boys. Well, that's all I have. Mike, close us up.
Okay. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
See you, boys.
That was fun. Thanks, guys.